right now. Today is the day that you choose to change the rest of your life. It is time to turn your setback into the greatest comeback story ever told, and nobody is more capable than you. This is the Ranting Weight Watcher podcast, the future #1 weight loss podcast in the world. I am your host, Donato Russo. I hope you enjoy the show today. If this is your first time here and you enjoy the show, please subscribe and spread the word of the Ranting Weight Watcher podcast wherever you are and to whomever will listen. If you'd like to connect on social media or wherever else, check out my Linktree page, Linktree/the Ranting Weight Watcher. Let's connect today. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 192 of the Ranting Weight Watcher podcast. If this is your first time here, I want to welcome you to the show. If you enjoy it, please consider subscribing. If the app that you're using to listen to the show allows you to write a review or rate the show, please consider writing a review and leaving a 4-star or 5-star rating. Doing this will promote the podcast growth by updating an algorithm, which in turn will make it easier for anyone else looking for a weight loss or related podcast that is using the same app as you. One of the best things you could do to support this podcast is to literally tell anyone you know that is in the same position we are all in, trying to live a healthy life. Tell them about the show. Show them how to find it. I want to give a special thanks to all of the financial supporters of the podcast. Thank you so much for considering the Ranting Weight Watcher podcast a worthy investment of your hard-earned money. If you are interested in becoming a financial supporter of this podcast, there is a Linktree link in the description of every podcast episode. When you click it, you will be taken to a website where you will see a button that says Become a Financial Supporter. Click that button and you will be given the options available so that you can choose from there. Well, let's not waste any more time. Let's get into this! Journey updates. I am down this week 2.6 pounds. Total loss since January 2019 is 183.6 pounds. Just 16.4 pounds away from the 200-pound milestone. So this past month has been a bit of a roller coaster, and I wanted to go over it with you guys. When I say to you guys that it takes faith in what you're doing to be able to be consistent, okay? And I just felt like it was a really crazy month, so when I weighed in on Saturday, I took a look just to check it out, you know? So I'm going to cover essentially from May 18th to June 15th because that's the closest I can get to a month, how the month fell. On May 18th, I weighed in at 212 pounds. Now, from May 18th to June 15th, there is a total of 5 weigh-ins. 3 of those weigh-ins were gains, and 2 of them were losses. So with the month going as crazy as it went, I ended up at the exact same weight that I started the month with. So in spite of there being 3 gains, the 2 losses ended up being the same. The start and the end of the month of that 5-week time period ended up being the same. I want to bring attention to this because when you're staring at gain after gain after gain this way, it's very hard not to do anything about it. Extremely hard. You would even question what you're thinking by not changing something. I don't know how many people can do what I do, just stare at the scale going up this many times and have such faith in the work that I do to keep going. But I say to you that it's necessary for you to have such faith and such confidence in the work you put in to be able to stare these in the face and say, no, everything I'm doing is right. I'm just going to keep going. So it's been a crazy month. And seeing this month and recognizing how crazy the past month was, it made me think, you know what? I should go back and really go over this and, talk about some data. Okay? It's probably going to get a little geeky and a little boring, but it is what it is. This is all to paint a picture of what consistency looks like. The 3-month time span, when I looked at my tracker, the closest I get is March 16th to June 15th. And I counted in between, and there were 14 weigh-in days total. The total losses in those 14 weigh-in days was 6. And the total gains in those 14 is 8. During this 3-month time span, my highest weight was 221.4 pounds. My lowest weight was 212 pounds. My net loss over that 3-month time period, so March 16th to 6/15, is 9.4 pounds. 9.4 pounds down in the 3-month time span that I gave you. So I wanted to take it a little deeper. So I looked at 6 months. Now, to make the weigh-in dates work, the closest I could do was January 13th to June 15th. And when I counted during this 6-month span, there are 23 weigh-in days. Thirteen of those weigh-ins were gains. 10 of those weigh-ins were losses. But when you look deeper, when you look at the context of this, during that 6-month span between January 13th and June 15th, my highest weight was 223.6 pounds. And again, my lowest weight was 212 pounds. My 6-month loss is 11.6 pounds. So for the 1 year, the closest I could get the dates to work is June 17th to June 15th. So a total of 52 weigh-ins. 32 of those weigh-ins were gains. And 20 of them were losses. My highest weight during this time period was 233.8 pounds. My lowest weight during this time period was 212 pounds. My 1-year loss from the dates I mentioned is 21.8 pounds. So why am I telling you all this? Because part of me wonders How many of you would have had this past month that I had and consider yourself successful? 3 gains, 2 losses in 1 month. Eight gains, 6 losses in 3 months. $13 gains, 10 losses in 6 months. $32 gains, 20 losses in 1 year. How many of you would have seen that many gains and quit? How many of you would flip out? How many of you would blame the system? How many? How many of you would just have stared at every single situation with complete confidence in what you're doing and keep going? The truth of it all is, you can't have that kind of confidence if you aren't consistent. Now, how do you become consistent? How do you accomplish all the things I talked about in this episode? Transitioning your life to eating single ingredient foods. A goal for somebody who wanted to do this is first to count how many of those foods that you eat have more than 2 ingredients. All of them. And look at the worst ones on that list. Like, you have a tracker. Look at each item you tracked and look at the ingredients list of every single one of those items. And maybe you start with the 2 highest ones or the 3 highest ones. And you come up with a plan how to replace those things with single ingredient foods. Now, let's say those 3 things are snack foods. An easy way to do it would be to go from whatever that 30 and 40 ingredient item is to, say, a fruit, if we're talking about a snack. If that's too much of a jump, then go from the 30 and 40 ingredient snack to a yogurt with much less ingredients. Anything's a win as long as it's less than the snack you're replacing. Are we clear about that? Like, if you went from a 40 ingredient protein bar to a 30 ingredient protein shake, it's still a win. It's a move in the right direction. But it takes you doing the extra work to find it. And very few people have the patience to track, let alone figure out what's actually in the food. They can't even be bothered to track the food they're putting in their mouth, let alone what's in it. That's the real problem. As long as I don't know, then the problem doesn't exist. And then when something goes wrong and somebody in a white coat is telling you a diagnosis you don't like, you can blame your biology, you can blame your age, you can blame your family history, whatever you want, anything not to blame you. But if you should find out that one of those ingredients in the foods you eat are actually causing it, then it's you that gets the blame. Then it's you that has to say, I am knowingly eating this. And if you knowingly eat something, I don't care. I'm not here to condemn you for it. Listen, if you want to eat something and you know what's in it, knock yourself out. I'm actually not talking to you today. I'm talking to the people that want to pretend they don't know. And then they want to complain in any given scenario. I don't know what's going on. I just can't do this. I can't figure it out. Maybe it's my family history. Maybe it's my biology. Maybe I just need a shot. Maybe I just need a surgery. Rather than see the real truth. Rather than track honestly and see how many items do I really eat and how many ingredients are in the items that I really eat. If you eat 10 items a day and your ingredient list is in the hundreds, it's time to make a change. It really is. This stuff is not designed to be good for you. Even when it is printed on there that it is a good source of protein. Nonsense. I want you to look at everything you eat and think, can I find this in nature? And when I say that, I mean as is. Can I find this in nature? That eliminates a lot of things. A lot of things. And you probably would think I'm really extreme. But it's not. It's not about that. It's not about being extreme. It's about creating a level of health that makes it so you never have to face the guy in the white coat. And you never have to sit there and think about, is it my biology? Is it my family history? Is it my age? Because it's none of those things. It's time to own our own actions and stop blaming everything else for why we don't have what we want when we should be blaming ourselves. Really, what you need to face is the fact that you really don't want a healthy life as much as you say you do. You really don't want to believe you might actually be addicted to the food you're eating because that sounds bad. It's no problem for an alcoholic to admit he's an alcoholic. But for whatever reason, everyone believes it's a problem to admit you're a food addict. And yet, these foods are designed more addictive than recreational drugs. You could eat some of these things all day long. If somebody just kept giving you a constant supply, you would never stop eating them. Not because you're hungry, because the ingredients in them are designed to make it so all you want is more. We're going to take a break. Don't go anywhere. I now present to you the Ranting Weight Watcher Accountability Creed. If you choose this day to say this creed, you are accountable to me, the author. You are also accountable to all of those before you who have taken the creed, and all of those after you who will take the creed. But most of all, you are accountable to yourself. Now recite with me the Accountability Creed. Nothing can stand in my way because I choose to be unstoppable. My challenges crumble in my presence because I choose strength when I am weak. My insecurities have no power over my life because I choose confidence in the face of fear. I own every last one of my mistakes because I choose growth over mediocrity. The mirror and the scale are powerless because I move forward in spite of the result. Circumstances are not obstacles because I see solutions instead of problems. The demons of my past can no longer torment me because I choose to renew my mind daily. All things are possible as long as I believe, because if God is for me, who can be against me? This is the creed I declare each day. It is about what I do, not what I say. I will learn the work that needs to be done. I will never stop, even when I've won. I will work consistently, no matter the cost. I refuse to believe that all hope is lost. I will work when I want to. I will work when I don't. I will work when they are cheering. I will work when they won't. I will work when it's easy. I will work when it's hard. The atonements that I've made are made with no regard. I will work when it's cold. I will work when it's hot, because choices have consequences, justified or not. When I think I know it all, I will start back at one, because regardless of what I think, the work is never done. And from this moment forward, when times are tough, I choose to believe that I am enough. And we are back. Thanks for sticking with me. That's why I'm here. I'm here for the small portion of all of you listening that is ready for accountability. I'm here for the small portion of you that are listening that are finally ready to fight the real fight and eat a proper human diet. If it's the meat from an animal, eat it. If it came from an animal, eat it. And if it came from the ground, eat it. If you can't find it in nature, get away from it. No matter how healthy someone tells you it is. It's time to stop pretending that just because something is marked protein, that it's actually healthy. The protein shakes, protein bars, all of those things are just as processed as all of the junk in the snack food aisles. It's time to eat real food. If you want protein in your life, stop supplementing it and start actually eating it. And watch how you're never hungry for anything else. And you have to come to the realization of how you start your day is going to dictate how you end your day. If you start your day with food that's highly addictive and never satisfying, you're going to end your day with highly addictive food that is never satisfying you. If you start your day with whole foods, you will end your day with whole foods and you will be satisfied. I'm not talking out of my ass. This is real life. I'm doing it. I used to have ice cream and call it a treat. I used to have cookies and call it a treat. Now I have an apple and call it a treat. Can we talk about that for a minute? I have a banana and I call it a treat. That's how differently I am eating from when I started. And I'm telling you guys, if you want that healthy life, if you want to be optimally healthy, and I'm not talking about a scale number because the scale is nonsense in the broad scheme of things. When you could have two people the exact same weight, one of them being 40% fat and the other one being 20% fat, but they both have the same scale number, could you call them the same level of health? That's how useless the scale number is. That's how useless the BMI scale is. Knowing how much fat you carry on your body and knowing what it takes to remove that fat should be all you're concerned with. Transition your life to eat single ingredient foods or as close to it. Count how many food items you eat a day and count the ingredients of every single one of those items. Compare those two numbers and try to work out a plan that will bring those two numbers closer together over a long period of time. And the closer and closer and closer you get, the less and less and less food will have a hold on your life. It's that simple. You know, I just realized that I forgot something in the details of all the weigh-ins I was talking about earlier. Whenever I announced the highest weight and the lowest weight, none of the groupings, like 1 month, 3 month, 6, none of those groupings was the highest weight the start of that time frame. Like, perfect example, the 1 month time frame, the start date and the end date of that time period was the exact same weight, 212, which is the lowest weight, which means the 3 weigh-ins in between, one of those 3 weigh-ins was the highest weight. And the same thing goes with the 3 month, with the 6 month, and with the year. It wasn't a downward slope. That's what I'm trying to tell you. People want to quit what they're doing for their own life because they don't perceive that things are going the way they should go. The fairy tale that they have in their mind, it's not playing out in real life. But who knows? Who, listen to me, knows that fairy tales aren't real life? The world is not cupcakes and rainbows and unicorns and leprechauns and pots of gold at the end of rainbows. Things never go how you expect them to go. They may result the same way, especially if you're consistent and keep pushing, but they never go the way you perceive it will go. People have these lofty things and then they make judgment calls based on how it goes. I'm a perfect example. When I started in my first week, I lost a big amount of weight. You start to think that that's how it's always going to be. You tell yourself that that's the way it's going to be for you, even though everybody around you saying, listen, it's not always going to be that way. And you actually tell yourself, no, that was just them. I'm different. I mean, for God's sakes, I was saying that still now. This recent transition to carnivore, I didn't even get fully to carnivore yet, and all of a sudden dropping this much weight this quickly. For a split second before I told myself to shut up, I thought, hey, I'll be at minus 200 pounds in no time at this rate. Stupid thinking process. That's never the way it goes. Never. Whenever you make a big change, there will be a big drop, and then everything evens out. When you become consistent in whatever that change is, it all evens out. The amount of inflammation my body released in that time frame when I started to do that transition to carnivore caused a huge weight fluctuation downward. But it leveled out. So what does it mean? Does it mean I'm doing something wrong? No, it's just not the way it goes. At transitional moments in your journey, you're going to have big drops. The problem is most people don't ever recognize that they are at a transitional moment. They think what they started out doing on day 1 that lost them a bunch of weight should continue on day 531. They think whatever worked in year 1 should work in year 10. And that's just not the way it goes. Take it from someone who's been here on the way to 6 years, down 183 pounds. Losing the first 50 was easy. Losing this last 50, a lot more difficult. All I did was track and measure the food that I ate. And I lost 50 pounds. It just fell off me. No exercise. That was year 1. When they handed me the 50-pound charm, I told myself there's no way I'd make it to 100 without introducing exercise. That was a transitional moment. I recognized it for what it was. So I came up with a plan and instituted exercise. I made it from minus 50 to minus 150, eating the way I was eating and exercising the way I was exercising. And I hit a wall at 150. And I stayed there at 10 months because I didn't recognize the transitional moment. So finally, I decided to pick up a book and educate myself on what I didn't know about nutrition. Where most people, would they ever make that choice? Would they ever choose to open a book and find out more about nutrition? Or would they just go in circles trying to figure out why 0-point foods isn't working for them anymore? I opened a book. I found out a bunch of stuff that brought me a bunch of questions. And the answer to those questions all came from the book. And when I was done and I closed the cover of that book, the only thing I could think of was, how does this get implemented in my life? So I'm sitting here today telling you that all you need to do to get to where you want to be is, 1, recognize the pivotal moments. And 2, stick around long enough to recognize the pivotal moment. I hope that the effort I put in to describe how things have happened in the last 5.5 years, I hope this helps you in some way. Because I can't think of any other way to put this to you. I put these things in such simplistic fashion that the majority of the people listening tune it out because in their mind, it cannot be that simple. No. My life is much more complex. My life is much more difficult. No, what worked for you simply will not work for me. And that is the key. That is when I tell you the only person that is stopping you from achieving everything you ever wanted is you. Because when someone like me comes along and tells you the most simplistic way of achieving everything you want is to simply become consistent in all of the behaviors that promote it. All you want to say is, no, my life is way too difficult for it to be that simple to solve my problems. No, it has to be much more complex for me. It has to be, I'm such a, you just don't understand what's going on in my life. Consistent effort. I always tell you, your accuracy has to be 97%, because if you're 97% accurate, the 3% won't matter. But you know what? Your effort has to be 99.9%. And why don't I say 100? Because no one can ever max out. No one. You can't ever max out. You're not going to ever be perfect. So give it 99.9% effort. And that last 0.1, you just thank God for the extra little push. You thank him like he gave it to you already, that extra 0.1. Because where you miss out, God will supply. So the 99.9 is supplied by you. And when you got nothing left, when there's absolutely an empty tank, that's when you thank God for the other part, the 0.1. And you know what? When you achieve the 99.9% effort, God is going to give you the 0.1. He's not going to do the 99.9 for you. That's all on you. Everybody's sitting around waiting for a miracle. Nobody's coming to save you. It's up to you to put in the effort needed to create the success you want. And when you're out of it, when you're running on empty, that's when God shows up to give you the 0.1. That's when he shows up. He doesn't show up until you're at 99.9. So if you know you're not at 99.9% effort, if you are not doing the most simple things involved in this health journey, get your ass in gear. Start doing the work. Stop this nonsensical belief that the world is going to all just open up and happen for you. And stop looking for people that are in the same position as you. Because if you hang out with people that are in the same position as you, guess what? You're going to stay that way. And if you want to stay that way, fine. But don't you dare complain that you just can't get it. That it's just not in the storyline for you. Because it's in the storyline for everybody. For everybody who will put the 99.9% effort on the table. Who will fall on their face because they are literally empty. That's who it is for. That's who's gonna win. So it's time to get serious. It's time to wake up. This is your wake-up call. A proper human diet is possible, but you gotta want it. If it came from an animal, eggs, milk, cheese, eat it. If it's part of an animal, beef, lamb, chicken, eat it. If it came from the ground, find the most pesticide-free source. Do those 3 things, and you'll have everything you want. I love each and every one of you. God bless you all.